Okay, welcome once again. The recording has officially started, and the consent statement I read will be in the chat in just a second here. It says it's too long, so I have to put it in two pieces there. Okay, there we go. All right, the consent statement is officially in the chat. So welcome again. My name is Micaiah Guy. I use she, her pronouns. And I'm speaking to you today from DuPont, Washington, on the traditional lands of the Coast Salish peoples. I am the Director of Equity and Grants here at Serve Washington. Here at Serve Washington, we sincerely appreciate your interest in AmeriCorps funding and in exploring ways that you can leverage national service to meet and address local needs. We have 5 objectives that we would like to tackle today during this technical assistance meeting. We would like to provide an overview and the purpose of AmeriCorps state funding, explain who is eligible to apply, outline the process and timeline to apply for funding, review key highlights to this year's application and offer helpful tips and hints. And lastly, and probably most importantly, answer any questions that you may have. Before any of that, there will be a video titled, "What is AmeriCorps?" Please understand this video was created a couple years ago before the national logo change, so you will see the legacy logo.
So you have questions about AmeriCorps? Well, you've come to the right place, because we're here to help. First off, let's clear up one thing right away. You might be wondering how to say or spell AmeriCorps. Sometimes people pronounce the P, but don't make that same mistake. AmeriCorps is alive and well, just spelled with a silent P. So think of Apple Core or Core of the Earth. Now that we have that clear, what exactly is AmeriCorps anyways? AmeriCorps is simply Americans of all ages and backgrounds dedicating their time and skills to get things done. There we go. So how does AmeriCorps get things done? More than 80,000 Americans across the country join AmeriCorps each year, and all of them are tackling different problems in different ways. For example, AmeriCorps members help families attain affordable homes. They mentor students so that they stay in school. Perhaps there is a tornado, a flood, a forest fire, or a hurricane. AmeriCorps members also help communities recover from disasters. There's so many more things that AmeriCorps members do, but if we said it all, we'd be here all day. Why do we call them members, you ask? AmeriCorps members spend anywhere from 3 months to a year dedicating their time and skills to serve. They can volunteer with nonprofits, schools, public agencies, and community and faith-based organizations. And in case you were wondering, there are a few perks AmeriCorps members get, including money to pay for college, student loan deferment, training, living allowance, health benefits, and job opportunities with leading employers. Not too bad, right? All right. What's the purpose of AmeriCorps? Like the military or the Peace Corps, AmeriCorps is a way to serve your country. AmeriCorps members make Americans safer, stronger, and healthier, and they strengthen our communities. But above all, AmeriCorps members get things done. That's it. That's what AmeriCorps is. Learn more about AmeriCorps at AmeriCorps.gov.
So what does national service look like here in Washington? Well, currently there are 700 local service sites and over $35 million in AmeriCorps and local funding going toward getting things done. AmeriCorps brings people together to tackle some of the country's most pressing challenges through national service and volunteering. AmeriCorps members and volunteers serve with organizations dedicated to the improvement of communities and help make service a cornerstone of our national culture. To achieve this end, AmeriCorps funding is awarded to eligible organizations that propose to engage AmeriCorps members in evidence-informed and evidence-based interventions to strengthen communities. State service commissions, like Serve Washington, receive AmeriCorps state funding from the federal agency, AmeriCorps, previously known as the Corporation for National and Community Service, or CNCS. Serve Washington then passes through this funding to local programs. AmeriCorps funds are funneled through state service commissions by way of two different funding streams. The AmeriCorps State Competitive Funding, which is a process that occurs each fall and recently ended for Washington programs, and AmeriCorps State Formula Funding, the current process we are in that occurs each spring. For the competitive process in the fall, funding is awarded by AmeriCorps and applicants must compete at the national level. That competition is a better fit for large programs and programs that meet national priorities and/or programs with a moderate to strong evidence base. For the formula process, which is this process, funds are awarded to programs by Serve Washington directly, and the competition is only within Washington state. For this grant opportunity, Serve Washington projects approximately $4 million available to award out. However, please note that a large portion of that is already dedicated to continuation grantees. Continuation grantees are organizations that are previously funded through Serve Washington and AmeriCorps. This formula competition is a good fit for smaller programs. And so those are organizations with about 10 to 35 MSYs. And we'll talk a little bit about what MSYs are later. Programs that meet local priorities, programs that propose to operate in newly established single or multiple focus areas, and/or programs that are building their evidence base. We bring this to your attention just in case you determine that competitive competition is a better fit for your organization. Serve Washington projects the next competitive competition to occur in fall later this year. If you are not ready to launch an operational grant with AmeriCorps members in service, a good fit for your organization may just be this planning grant, which is what we're gathered here to discuss today. Overall, the focus of AmeriCorps funding is guided by the Serve America Act. In April of 2009, the Edward M. Kennedy Serve America Act was signed into law by President Barack Obama. Through this law, Congress directed AmeriCorps, the federal agency, to focus national service in 6 areas where service can make a major impact. Those areas are disaster services, economic opportunity, education, environmental stewardship, healthy futures, and veterans and military families. These historic areas of focus have been well funded in the past, but applicants are welcome to apply for funding under any focus area that proposes to use AmeriCorps members in evidence-informed or evidence-based interventions to strengthen communities. If this were the competitive funding opportunity, here is where we would focus on AmeriCorps' priority funding areas. We just spoke about focus areas. Here we would speak about the funding priority areas. However, this is the formula process, and this process is a locally determined funding opportunity in that Serve Washington determines who and what gets funded. So we focus on local priorities. And so here we're going to discuss Serve Washington's funding priorities. If you are curious about AmeriCorps' funding priorities for that larger funding opportunity in the fall, that competitive opportunity, please feel free to review the AmeriCorps NOFO, which is the Notice of Funding Opportunity, which will be posted on Serve Washington's website at servewashington.wa.gov. Serve Washington's funding priorities are service strategies that are driven by community-identified priorities, organizations that are led and staffed by people that reflect the communities being served, programs that strive to recruit and select national service members that reflect the communities being served, programs that support communities historically excluded and or underserved from government services, addressing structural and institutional inequities and or increasing opportunities to achieve sustainable change, models that utilize service as a strategy to develop career pathways and or lead to industry recognized credentials, models that demonstrate an implemented commitment to justice, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and access, and programs that provide additional benefits to members, such as member assistance, which includes mental health benefits, housing assistance, transportation, childcare, etc. Now, let's pivot to talking a little bit about AmeriCorps members. While planning grants do not have AmeriCorps members, just as an FYI, please know that AmeriCorps members for programs that have them must spend a majority of their time participating in direct services. Direct service addresses human need or the environment in one form or another, and is engaging directly with people to support change or performing a service that is involved in creating community impact. Administrative tasks necessary to perform direct service are inherent within that. However, programs should caution against excessive administrative tasks or administrative tasks unrelated to direct service. Indirect service, such as training and fundraising, these things are allowable but must be limited. The most important piece of information to relay is that at least 70% of member time must be spent doing direct service. A maximum of 20% of time can be dedicated to training, and a minimum of 10% of each member's time can be dedicated to fundraising. Now, why is this important to programs who are interested in planning grants? There will be a question within the application that asks you why the intervention you're proposing, why the organization or the project you are putting forward, why AmeriCorps is a good fit. And you will have to explain how members would be a benefit within this. And so this information will be helpful as you are considering how you're going to design your programming moving forward. Additionally, AmeriCorps is not intended to duplicate services already or activities already available in the locality of a program. And organizations may not displace or supplant an employee or volunteer position with an AmeriCorps position. By law, there are a number of activities not allowed, such as attempting to influence legislation, engaging in religious instruction, providing direct benefit for a for-profit business, duplicating services, providing abortion services, displacing paid workers, and much, much more. As a new applicant, please consult the supplemental guidance, which will also be on the Serve Washington website for the full definition, so that you are not inadvertently proposing a program model with prohibited or unallowable activities. Also, as you are considering your design and writing out your explanation for why AmeriCorps is a good fit for the intervention or the program or the project that you're proposing, please remember AmeriCorps members serve or perform service and are defined by law as a participant in an approved national service position. They are not employees of the organization or government or entities and should refrain from language such as work or job or employee when you are describing the service that they will be performing. So again, even though planning grants do not have members, I do want to draw your attention to the requirement for the minimum number of member service years. So those are those MFYs I referenced before for Serve Washington and recruitment standards. Recruitment can be local and or national, though please keep in mind, particularly for the formula competition, that Serve Washington does hold as a value proximate leadership and by and for models. And so that is organizations who are intentional about recruiting from the community being served. MSYs, equivalent to 1,700 hour full-time positions. So those are full-time, and Serve Washington funds operational programs that request between 10 and 35 MSYs. And so this can be a combination of full-time or less than full-time MSYs. There are several different slots. They can be full-time, part-time, half-time, three-quarter time, but just know that that full-time slot equals a total of 1,700 hours. Members also receive benefits when they serve. And among them are a living stipend that aligns with their slot type or their MSY. Full-time members have a minimum living allowance, and that is this year $18,700 per service year for full-time members. And other benefits are also available, which is inclusive of healthcare and an education award that also aligns with their slot type and their term of service. Now, when we consider what type of organization is eligible for a planning grant, you must be a nonprofit organization, and understand planning grants are all organizations that are brand new to AmeriCorps, or you're an established organization with a new project. You are proposing a new project or a new intervention. So you must be a nonprofit organization, an institution of higher education, state or local government, or a tribal government. The organization must also have a unique entity identifier. This should have replaced your DUNS number, an employer identification number, and must be registered in the SAM, the Systems Award Management, which is the United States government systems for awards management online. If that language is brand new to you, please refer to the request for grant applications, the RFGA, which directed you here to our webinar this morning. And it will have everything clearly defined and direct you to the appropriate websites. And finally, the project award period for a planning grant is a full year and must begin no earlier than August 1st, 2024, and will end July 31st, 2025. What is the process? What happens next? From here, you look at the application, you review it, you establish your account in eGrants, complete the questions, and you submit in eGrants. Serve Washington will review it for compliance. That is to make sure that you didn't exceed any of the page limits, that everything was answered, that your budget adds up, all of that is completed. And then it goes to the Grant Review Committee. The Grant Review Committee is a selection of individuals, a combination of Serve Washington Commission members and community members. The Grant Review Committee will review over a period of about 3 to 4 weeks, and then they make a recommendation to the full commission. So the Board of Commissioners will vote at the commissioner meeting in April. Awards will be made, and then you may receive a planning grant that could lead to an operational grant in the future. Here is the timeline that is also referenced within the request for grant applications, or the RFGA. And for planning grants, there is a curriculum to follow. These dates here are tentative, are subject to change as the new program officer who leads the planning grant process will be on board. So my goal today was not to regurgitate the RFGA to you. I did, however, want to just provide a brief explanation of some of the requirements, some things that you should absolutely keep an eye on. For example, the page limits. The application should not exceed 10 pages. This does not include any additional documentation. This simply includes the one-page face sheet, which will automatically be generated by eGrants, and then the narrative sections with the questions that you must answer. Your budget is not counted within that 10-page page limit. And also the budget that you create should not exceed $75,000. $75,000 is our limit for planning grants this year. Because of the page limit, just a helpful tip is to create your application in some sort of word processing document outside of eGrant, and then copy and paste it in there just to be sure you meet those page limits. eGrants does not allow for any type of fancy formatting. However, we do recommend headers. So you cannot bold it, but you can use all caps to put headers in there so that we know what we're reading, so that the review committee is able to delineate, which answers for which question, to make it a little easier for everyone to understand what we're reading about your application. And print it out, have a second set of eyes, a third set of eyes on there to just make sure that you are telling us the absolute most important information you feel that we need to know about your organization to award this funding to you. There is an additional document that we are requesting from you, and that is an audited your most recent audited financials. And so if that's a single audit or anything like that, please provide that. If you do not have that, if your organization does not have an audit, please provide us a written statement as to why, and then you will submit that via email. In addition, on the same day or by the deadline of your application. And then here, so are you ready to join the AmeriCorps organization? These assessments here, the RFGA, any questions you have, all of this information is available on our website. Please do not hesitate to reach out with any questions. We are looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you, and do have an amazing day.